Hey, good morning, friends. Mark Holmes here with my buddy Cowboy Joe Boo. And as always, thank you guys for watching, commenting, and subscribing to the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, this literally does not work. Let's get open for business here on this Thursday morning where we sit just 2 weeks away from the NFL draft. That's right, 2 weeks away from the NFL draft. Thank you for joining this morning's edition of Don't Sleep on the Dallas Cowboys because you literally cannot sleep on the Dallas Cowboys. Things happen late in the evening, late at night, first thing in the morning, so you want to be up to speed with all that is America's team. And I'm happy to say that the Dallas Cowboys, things are pretty quiet around the star, which I kind of like it. Um, Next week on the 15th, the team actually starts doing their beginning of their offseason workouts, which will be great to finally actually see their players on the field. Of course, 2 weeks from today begins the NFL draft. At the current moment, we don't have a pick the first night. So technically for us, it'll start 2 weeks from tomorrow. But we've had 30 visits of potential draftees. We've had a little bit of everything in there, but we've surprisingly had a lot of wide receivers, even though we've had a logjam of wide receivers currently on the roster. But I think the Cowboys are looking to upgrade anywhere and everywhere. And sometimes you're better off taking a rookie and that lower contract and being able to release somebody else who may be a higher paid talent. Not saying that that's what they're looking for, but I think the Dallas Cowboys are looking at this draft. And right now I'm hearing that they're thinking like five quarterbacks may be taken in the top 20. So if there's a big run on quarterbacks, that means some of the other players will get pushed down. We know there's a lot of edge rushers out there. So if a lot of these edge rushers are pushed out there, you may have a great wide receiver that you may have on your board, and they're thinking that maybe only one wide receiver goes in the first round. There may be a great wide receiver that falls to you that you just can't pass up, as well as any position. But for me personally, I think tight end has evolved to the point where you really need a game changing tight end. We've seen what Gronk has done with New England, as well as Zach Ertz for the Eagles and things. Um, we've got Jason Witten back, but that's really just kind of a hole in the dike, so to speak, and you have to start thinking about down the road. But what I'm really interested in is last night about 9:22 or so, Odell Beckham tweeted out um, that he had seen the schedule and surprise first week opponent. So if he's seen it, then that means other people have seen it, and I'm sure it's going to be out sooner than later. We were hearing that it was basically next week, but the NFL, maybe they're going to tease a little bit of it, or maybe you're going to start seeing some leaks. So let's start thinking about the schedule. And if Odell, like I said, if Odell knows what it is, then chances are stuff's going to start leaking out. But we'll just take a quick rundown of our regular season schedule, and we've got some tough games ahead of us. We also, in a way, benefit from playing the AFC North. I mean, excuse me, the AFC East, because New England, of course, is always a tough game. But you got Miami, you got the Jets, and you got Buffalo. And Buffalo, we may want to circle that one with Cole Beasley on it. But we've got to play in Chicago. Big question will be when will we play the Bears? Of course, we got to play the New York Stinking Giants 2 times. Of course, we've won the last 4 straight against them. We got the Eagles twice, and of course, the Eagles we've been fortunate to go 4-2 against over the last 3 years. We got the Redskins where we've gone 5-1 against over the last 3 years, and then we have the bad man who apparently has just gotten bad with the rest of his team, the Green Bay Packers at home. We've also got the Minnesota Vikings at home. We have Buffalo, which will play at home. We'll have Miami Dolphins at home. And we'll have the Rams at home. So at least having some of those games, having the Rams at home will be great and all that. We're going to be playing in Detroit. Ford Field's actually a nice place to play. It's a great stadium. I've been there for many, many Thanksgiving games. At New England, big question will be is what time of year is that going to be, because it gets cold and snowy in New England. We play in New Orleans. That's going to be hell. Might want to look at going to that game. We play at the Jets, And that's it. So look for it to come out as soon as we start getting any definitive word of the dates and things like that. We'll be talking about it. One thing I will say, we're going to have a mega tailgate at the Redskin Cowboy game in D.C. And if the Redskin game is not on Thanksgiving, I'm going to have the Jobu Sports Report take over Dallas trip with Cowboys Experience, where we're all going to be staying at the Embassy Suites together. We're going to have some meetups. We'll have autograph signings, and we'll be able to hang out for that weekend. So look for that. But here we are now in the second year of Kris Richard. Kris Richard was the passing coordinator for the Cowboys last year, and now he is our defensive coordinator. And when you look at his pedigree of what he did in Seattle, the Legion of Boom, one of the best defensive backfields in the history of football. It's amazing because when you start looking at this and looking at the guys and where they were drafted, there's only one guy that was a first-round draft pick. Everybody else in there was like a fifth, a sixth, or even undrafted. And I'm wondering if he's part of picking the players that are going to be playing for him. Because I look at George Iloka, and I see kind of one of the things that Kris Richard has. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, man, he's not going to be a starter. Blah, blah, blah. But here's the thing that's going to be interesting to me. Going into last season, Byron Jones was considered to be maybe a bust, because going from cornerback to safety and back and forth, it kind of screwed him up. And a lot of people thought that that was going to be his last year. Not too many people thought that he was going to be a top six cornerback. And had he not had the hip flexor problem that he had surgery on a couple weeks ago, he might have been the top corner, because he was, until he got injured, the top rated corner in the NFL. On 18 deep passes against him, only 3 were completed. His numbers were through the roof. And you look at the effect that Kris Richard had on him in taking him to a whole nother level. And not just him, basically everybody on that defensive backfield. Jeff Heath played better. He just needs to learn his math and his angles a little bit better. Xavier Woods, another guy who played really well after his rookie year and things. But when we look at George Iloka, and you look at what Kris Richard had in Seattle, it seems like he liked taller defensive backs. Jeff Heath is maybe 6 foot, as well as Xavier Woods. But when you look at almost everybody on the Legion of Boom, 4 of the 6 are well over 6 foot. You had Byron Maxwell, who was 6'1", a 6th-round draft pick. Richard Sherman, 6'3", 5th-round draft pick. Earl Thomas is the only guy who was a first-round draft pick, 5'10". Cam Chancellor, 6'3", 5th-rounder. Brandon Browner, 6'4", undrafted. And Walter Thurman, 5'11", 4th-round draft pick. So it seems that Kris Richard likes having these taller guys, and that's George Iloka. George Iloka is 6'4", big body. He's had about 392 tackles in his career, 9 interceptions. And you look at his career and you say, yeah, he's a decent player. But will Kris Richard be able to take him to the next level? Much in the same way that Rod Marnelli has taken guys who have been journeymen or nobodies or people passed over, guys that weren't considered to be very talented, and turned them into really good, if not great players. David Irvin was a practice squad player. If we could have had his head straight, he could have been getting paid like DeMarcus Lawrence. You look at a George Selvey who was in 4 different organizations his first 4 years with 3 sacks, came in and had 7 sacks underneath Rod Marnelli. And believe it or not, guys, in some years, that would have led our team in sacks. So if Kris Richard is this D-back whisperer, this guy that can put his stamp on him, you may look at all of a sudden somebody who's playing a lot better at safety than what you've seen in other stops. Make no mistake about it. Coaching makes a difference. And I believe Kris Richard is going to get these guys playing, especially now that you've got a Robert Quinn out there. I look for us to get more interceptions this year. That's my bold prediction. I'm going to say we're going to double the interceptions that we had last year, 9 to 18. Because I think that having this extra time, having a whole off season again with these guys, with Kris Richard really implementing his system, his philosophy is going to make that much of a difference. And of course, a pass rush helps. So as always, guys, I want to thank you all for watching, commenting, and subscribing to the Joe Boo Sports Report. I'll see you guys soon.